This is your official WWE Crown Jewel 2019, aka Saudi Dough Mania 4 review here on the JBSN Media Network YouTube channel. Jeff here with you. Let's just go ahead and get right into it. I will say up front, I did not watch the show, so I'm just going to give my thoughts about the results of the matches and maybe a little notes on them as we go along. There was one match on the kickoff show. It was the 20-man Battle Royal. The winner of this Battle Royal would get a U.S. title opportunity against AJ Styles later on the main part of the show. Just going to skip ahead down to the Final Four. The Final Four is Luke Harper, Eric Rowan, Humberto Carrillo, and Cedric Alexander. Now, if you listen to my podcast this past week, the GMTE podcast, these were the four names that I mentioned that would be in the end, to really the surprise of no one, because these are the ones that made sense. Cedric Alexander gets eliminated out of the group first by Eric Rowan, and then as the Singh brothers were leaving because they were still on the outside, R-Truth had rolled up Sunil from behind to win the 24/7 title back for the 21st time. And then we see all the losers that were in the match prior chase R-Truth around and did more stupid comedy. Luke Harper gets eliminated next by Eric Rowan, so I guess their tag team days are over at this point. And then we're down to Eric Rowan and Humberto Carrillo, and sure enough, Humberto Carrillo does eliminate Eric Rowan, and really, I don't see why anybody should be surprised by this. Humberto Carrillo wins, and he will take on AJ Styles for the U.S. title later on. I figured he was going to win. He was my pick on the podcast because they've been trying to give him the rub lately. We'll see what the result of that match was later on. There was a New Day interview backstage as well during the kickoff, saying basically the New Day is hyping up their opportunity in the Tag Team Turmoil match that happens later on in the show. So that's what we had there. On to the main card itself, they current jerked here with the Fox WWE title match. Brock Lesnar, I guess he didn't want to stay in Saudi Arabia very long, so he current jerks here to take on Cain Velasquez. Rey Mysterio is out with Cain Velasquez in his corner while Paul Heyman's out in the corner of Brock Lesnar. The match does not go very long. The finish was set up when Velasquez had Lesnar on the floor while attacking him with some strikes, and then eventually Lesnar won in the end. The match only went about 2 minutes. He won with the Kimura lock, and Cain Velasquez tapped out for the win to retain. Afterwards, Lesnar kept the hold on. Mysterio came and hit Brock with the chair. However, Brock was able to get Rey out of the ring, and then he started pounding on Velasquez with the chair, and then he hit an F5 on the chair to Velasquez. And then Rey eventually does come back in the ring, and he just goes to hell in a handbasket on Lesnar with the chair, and actually nailed him. I believe one of the shots actually caught him in the face, but even though he did get his hands up, but still, Rey Mysterio is showing off the fire here. But in the end, Lesnar retained. We had backstage promos next for the respective tag team champions, the Revival on SmackDown, the Viking Raiders on Raw, basically hyping up the tag team turmoil match which happens next. We get Rudolph, that's Robert Roode and Dolph Ziggler. They take on the Lucha House Party to start it off, and it doesn't take much to figure out who got eliminated first. Lucha House Party eliminated Melitique. Roode had pinned Grand Melitique with the Glorious DDT, so they were eliminated. We see Ryder and Heath Slater apparently. I think it's Ryder and Hawkins, if I'm not mistaken. They're out next. They didn't last very long. Bobby Roode pinned Zack Ryder after the Super Zigzag, so they're eliminated. Heavy Machinery is out next. Heavy Machinery eliminates Rudolph after Tucker had pinned Rudolph after hitting the compactor on him. So the New Day are out next. And Kingston, for the New Day, wins for his team after hitting the up, down, down, and pinning Tucker with it. And then the B Team came out next. B Team was quickly dispatched of Big E pins Axel after hitting the big ending. The Revival, your SmackDown Tag Team Champions, are up next. They are dispatched when Kofi Kingston pins Scott Dawson after a roll-up, and then the Revival do a beatdown on the New Day after hitting Kofi with the Shatter Machine. The OC comes out next. Luke Gallows pins Kofi Kingston after they hit a Magic Killer ultimately, so they're out. So we're down to our final team. That is the Viking Raiders, or Raw Tag Team Champions, taking on the OC here. The OC wins it. Anderson pins Eric after hitting a Magic Killer. So the OC are the, quote, best tag team in the world. which to me makes no sense. It should have been one of your tag team champions. Why would you have the OC win this? It just makes no sense. Unless this was some sort of part of the compensation for them, Anderson and Gallows recently signing those 5-year contracts. So that's the only thing I can think of. So having a non-tag team champion win this made no sense to me. After we get Rey Mysterio cutting an interview backstage, we got Cesaro taking on Mansoor. From what a lot of people were saying, this was the best match on the card. Mansoor does win. He was my pick to win. And as far as the tag team thing, I had picked the Viking Raiders to win. So Mansoor and Cesaro have a great match. Apparently, easily the best match on the card. Mansoor wins after hitting the moonsault on Cesaro for the win. And basically, Mansoor cuts a promo afterwards saying that basically he was nervous, but then he got hyped because of the crowd, and he remembered that anything was possible. So congratulations to him. Wouldn't mind seeing more of Mansoor going forward. We got a Seth Rollins interview next. He's saying that this feud with the Fiend's coming to an end here, and then the Fiend is taking him to a dark place, and then he wants to continue to burn it down. So next up, we had Braun Strowman taking on Tyson Fury. From everything I've read and heard, Tyson Fury actually put up a decent showing considering he's a boxer and he only had a few weeks to prepare for this. Braun Strowman, my God. Everyone knew what the outcome was going to be here. Everyone knew Tyson Fury was going to win. Sure enough, he does win. He wins after knocking out, quote-unquote, Braun Strowman with a punch on the outside, and Strowman couldn't beat the 10 counts, so Fury wins by countout. After the match, Strowman managed to recover, get into the ring, and hit Fury with a power slam, and ultimately Fury no-sold the power slam. He just got up shortly afterwards, so just a complete burial of Strowman here. To the surprise of no one, everyone knew that Strowman was losing, but my God, it just made him look weak here. You can't take him serious anymore. We had a 24/7 segment backstage next. The 24/7 wrestlers, the jobbers, are looking for R-Truth. We see him sneaking out of the room. The Singh brothers surround R-Truth, who tries to escape through the same door he came in. He crashes and burns. And then we see Samar Singh get the pin on Truth to win the 24/7 title. So that would be the last of that for the night. We got that U.S. title match that happened next. We had AJ Styles defending the United States title against Humberto Carrillo here. From what I understand, it was an okay match. Carrillo had a decent showing here. Styles does win in the end after hitting the phenomenal forearm on Carrillo to retain, to the surprise of no one. I figured he was retaining here, so we had that. Next up was the first ever women's match in Saudi Arabia. It did happen. It was not originally going to happen, but they made it happen somehow. We had Natalya Neidhart taking on Lacey Evans here, so a continuation of sorts of their feud that they had recently. I know they did team up for that one match. They did a deal. Apparently the match went about 5 minutes or so. They shook hands before the match and after the match. The match itself, not a whole lot to say, just a lot of basic stuff. Apparently Natty won in the end with the sharpshooter, and they did shake and hug. I did see the video of that. They hugged the female, the one female. I definitely saw them both hugging out at ringside. So, and yes, the women were fully clothed. That was part of the stipulation. They weren't in their normal gear. They were fully clothed from top to bottom, essentially, wearing t-shirts and then this full gear covering pretty much the whole body. So we had that. And so, and yeah, I guess the takeaway was that we saw Lacey and Natty both cry and get very emotional about this. Look, I'm genuinely happy for both of them. Yes, they made history here, and they're going to talk about this going forward to the end of time. And look, we all know the reason why Natty and Lacey were the ones picked. And look, Natty was... last time it was Natty and Alexa Bliss, I believe it was. They were going to have that match, but it got canceled at the last minute. So it means a lot to Natty, and I guess for Lacey, it's a big deal for her as well. So I can't really crap on it too much. It was still not enough to make me want to watch it, even though they did finally get that women's match. Team Flair versus Team Hogan is next here. And by the way, Natty was my pick to win in that match. So, and in this one, I had picked Team Hogan, even though they did win that 6-man tag on SmackDown the week before. Some people may have thought they were going for 50-50 booking and have Flair's team win. I think we knew better. Lana did make her appearance, so she was the other one of the three who actually traveled over there, and she was fully dressed as well, like Lacey and Natalya was. So she was in the full gear as well. Ultimately, in the end, Team Hogan does win. Roman Reigns wins for his team after pinning Randy Orton following the spear. So Randy Orton takes the pinfall loss. So the two captains involved in the decision here in the end, and Team Hogan gets the big win here, which, you know, I figured they were going to anyways. I think, though, a lot of people were thinking we were getting 50-50 booking. Your main event of the evening for the NBC Universal Title. It's a Falls Count Anywhere match where the match cannot be, quote, stopped for any reason. Seth Rollins puts the title on the line against the Fiend Bray Wyatt. They've been doing these dark show matches after all the last few weeks with the lighting and all that in the steel cage. Yes, we got the red lighting apparently. The point of the match, it kind of followed the formula of the Hell in a Cell match that they had. Wyatt took 8 stumps during the match, and there was a big spot here where he was super kicked off the stage down to a platform that you would think had a crash pad or something down below. But that was the big visual. It's kind of a reminder of what they did at WrestleMania this year with the Shane McMahon-Miz match. Ultimately, in the end, the Fiend was able to rise and put the mandible claw on the Seth Rollins before he ultimately hit Sister Abigail because they had worked through the crowd. And that was enough. He hit Sister Abigail and pinned Seth Rollins and actually won the title, won the NBC Universal title, and he was holding the title as they went off the air. So that was it. Now, as far as the Fiend winning the title, I'm surprised they did the title change here, but I think it's too little too late, in all honesty. They should have done the title change at Hell in a Cell. You know, you only get one opportunity to make a good first impression. I mean, and they didn't do it here. They waited too long. They really, for the most part, killed the character of the Fiend already. I mean, you know, the Firefly Funhouse, the red lighting, you know, all the spookiness, it's kind of starting to get a little old now. You know, if they had done it at Hell in a Cell, you know, it would have meant something. Obviously, they would have had the rematch here anyways, but I think this was clearly a make-good on their part for not doing the job at Hell in a Cell, but it's too little too late, I think. And you know Seth Rollins is eventually going to get that title back. So now, of course, the question is, what are they going to do with Bray Wyatt, because he's supposed to be a SmackDown guy, but he's holding the Raw title. My understanding and what I think they're going to do is they're going to have him do this kind of split personality where he's going to be the Fiend on Raw, and he's going to be Bray Wyatt, you know, Mr. Rogers variation, Bray Wyatt on SmackDown. They're going to do a split personality, and he's going to be on both shows. That's just what I think they're going to do. It's the only thing that logically makes sense. They're not going to be unifying the titles. I don't see that happening. That makes no sense, and I think that's what we're getting here. So there you go. Now, of course, the big news that happened afterwards has been going on as of the time I'm recording this. I'm recording this on Friday afternoon. A number of these superstars got stranded over there in Saudi Arabia because of troubles with the plane. They did try to get a number of superstars on another flight back, but apparently that flight's not going to make it back in time for SmackDown. That's going to be taking place from Buffalo, New York here. This is why you don't schedule a show 17 hours away the night before a TV taping. So, I mean, look, it's something you don't expect them to have, but you got to be prepared for everything. So, it looks like probably with SmackDown coming up, we're going to probably get they're touting a lot of surprises, so we're going to probably get some wild card crossover from Raw, maybe from NXT. We'll have to wait and see. But yeah, that's kind of the big deal, and even they're still stranded there, and they're not even supposed to be taking off till sometime tonight, as of the time I'm recording this. And the ones who did make it out early aren't going to make it back in time, so we'll see what happens there. And of course, they're touting this major surprise as far as the backstage show they're doing Tuesday nights on Fox Sports 1, so it's going to be very interesting to see what's going to happen with that as well, so we'll have to find out. Now, as far as Crown Jewel, my official grade for Crown Jewel, and I did not watch it, like I said, but my official grade as far as like the outcomes, I thought most of the outcomes were relatively predictable. This, to me, I'm glad I didn't watch. It was a show for the most part that was pretty much forgettable. I give the show, I'm going to give it a D+, because it was really, except for Wyatt winning the title, which to me at this point made no sense. This was essentially a house show. Pretty much a glorified house show. So a D+ is my official rating. What do you guys think of my reign? Let me know in the comments section below what your favorite part from Crown Jewel, aka Saudi Dough Mania 4 is, and do you agree with me? So that's what we had. Thanks for checking us out. We'll see you the next time here on JBSN Media Network. Bye for now, everyone.
For the JBSN Media Network, this is Jenna Green speaking.